Yes, and welcome. It's another edition of the Boomtown Pod, all things MMA. I am your host, Andrew Kahn. I am excited to be on here with you guys. I know I scheduled this a little bit later, about an hour differential, but I decided, fuck it, we're going live now. That's how we do things. Of course, I am your host again, Andrew Kahn. You can find me at the Boomtown Pod on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. Oh, geez, there's just everywhere you can find us, which is absolutely amazing. Of course, we couldn't make this happen without our great sponsors. You can kind of see them on the ticker down below. And those sponsors are Stellar Gear out in Saskatoon at the 8th Street Mall. We love those guys, Dana and the crew. Uncle Dana, thank you so much. Sandman Boxing System. Congratulations to Sandman Boxing System. They were in Regina a week ago, actually probably 2 weeks ago now. I went down to the event and it was absolutely amazing. The team went 4-1 with Alliance Boxing and Sandman Boxing. So incredible stuff from them. Their fighters were great stuff in Regina. It was a fun card. And some really great performances. And of course, we can't do it without Connexus Credit Union, our friends over at the Saskatchewan Podcast Network, and our newest sponsor, Pallas Athenas Women's Fighting Championship. Man, things are getting hot and heavy. We're getting ready for one hell of an event taking place January 15th. I'm going to have that breaking down later for you when we have special guests later in the show. The CEO of Pallas Athenas Women's Fighting Championship, Clayton Belitski, he will be joining us, and I cannot wait for that to happen. We've got a lot of exciting stuff that we're obviously going to get to, and man, Sharp, he's an intelligent fellow. We're going to get into that, but first, so this is segment one. This is the weeks that have been, and of course, again, sponsored by Stellar Gear. Well, UFC 269 took place this past weekend. Woo, what a card. Holy shit. Top to bottom, one of the best cards that I have watched in a very long time. Shout out to a loyal listener, Brian, who had me and my significant other at their house watch the event. It was absolutely incredible. And start to finish, the card was absolutely unbelievable. So we kicked things off with Sugar Sean O'Malley back in the octagon again, doing what he does. I don't want to say he's fighting garbage cans, but he's fighting garbage cans. So I'm excited to see him fight some ranked fighters coming up after his big performance victory at UFC 269, coming off a knockout in the first round. Stylistically, I don't know who matches up well with Sean O'Malley in this division. Now, initially at 135, or 135, sorry, Cody Garbrandt and him seem to be all the hype, and then Cody Garbrandt, of course, gets his ass knocked out. We'll dive into that in a bit, but honestly, I was a little blown away by the performance from Sugar Sean O'Malley. The guy's got some sure hands. He's fire in the ring. His footwork was on par again. His hands are just elusive. He's like 6'3", it seems like. He's just a monster in that division. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does and how he continues to progress. Now, the next fight to me to make, I know they want it. I don't know. I think Garbrandt has to go back to 135. I think even though he looked great, 125 just looked super uncomfortable for him. And he looked pretty dehydrated. And I think his body wasn't responding all that well to the weight cut. And then he got knocked out pretty quickly. And that's not a shot to Kai Kara France. That was an amazing performance. But Sugar Sean was back. The hype train's for real. People are super excited. And that's all that matters. Sugar Sean he's slowly becoming that Conor McGregor-esque guy, where now Conor is, he's 30 years old. He's still a hype guy. He's still the money train for the UFC, as we all know. But Sugar Sean's 23 years old and a ton of potential. So we'll see what happens in that. And of course, speaking about Cody Garbrandt, he made his debut at 125. It did not go as planned against Kai Kara France. Kai Kara France, no joke in 125. That is one of the hardest hitting guys I've seen. Everybody keeps questioning Cody's chin again, which shouldn't be the issue. But here we are. I mean, if you look at Cody's record, Garbrandt has lost 5 of his last 6 fights. He could very be well on his way out of the UFC. Who knows? Who really knows? It's kind of like Cody doesn't know himself where he wants to be. I mean, he's been a champ. We all know that he was the bantamweight champ of the world. He did win the title. He beat Dominic Cruz in a very stylistic, unbelievable performance. But at the same time, it just seems he's so wishy-washy now with his fights. I mean, the guy has power. We all know that. He's kind of wild when he gets in these cluster fights. I think he could really benefit from maybe switching camps. I know he's an alpha male guy through and through, but nonetheless, he's just an incredible talent, and I really look forward to seeing what Cody Garbrandt does. But Kai Kara France, shout out to the man. He's He is an absolute monster in there, man. And yeah, incredible performance from Kai Kara-France. He wants the title. Heard today that he's been shouting out title requests left, right, and center. So we'll see what happens there. And yeah, let's see. Let's see. Kai Kara-France might be the real deal. The Australians had a pretty damn good night. Tui Tuivasa had a great fight. Obviously, he won. He did the shoey, which was gross but awesome all at the same time. And then, of course, we got to our co-main event of the evening. Amanda Nunes taking on Juliana Pena. Now, some people regarded this as one of the biggest underdog stories ever. Now, even when it comes to betting odds, it wasn't necessarily the smallest betting or the largest odds of all time, but Amanda Nunes came in as the minus 1,000 favorite, which means if you put $1 on Amanda Nunes, you would have made $1,001. It's just the significance of how bad that was. But nonetheless, she is going to be gearing up. Of course, she's getting ready to gear up to fight Juliana Pena, who was a 600 underdog, plus 600. So that's a lot of value. I mean, I'm not going to say that I bet on Juliana Pena, but I'm also going to say the bank account did not suffer from Juliana Pena either. It was an incredible performance from her. It's good to see a regime change, if you will. Amanda's always been so dominant, you know? And I mean, 135, 145, she's been the queen of both of those divisions. She's the GOAT. I mean, she really does all these titles, you know? And if you're Juliana Pena, you're hearing all this and you're like, background noise, background noise. I've beaten the girls that she has lost to. So it's just like, I can only imagine what she was going through, but it just looked like Juliana Pena sucked the absolute soul out of Amanda Nunes. It was insane. She was hitting her with combos. She kept hitting her with a left stiff jab, and Amanda put her hands down the entire fight, which I thought was a little bonkers because usually Amanda Nunes is the one who's being the throwee of the punches. Like it's something that was just a little bit different, kind of insane to me. But nonetheless, she was an extremely dedicated and ready to go fighter in this fight. And I was so happy to see a regime change, if you will. Juliana Pena is an absolute monster, an absolute force. She already said that she would give Nunes an immediate rematch, and Nunes says that she's going to come back, be better than ever. And I just think sometimes stylistically there's bad matchups, and this is a bad matchup for her. So we'll see what happens in the Nunes and Pena rematch. Juliana Pena, for all my money's worth, is one of the better fighters. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what she does. Amanda Nunes could move up and go back to 145, and I think she's going to be terrifically fine. I don't think there's really too many people in 145 that she hasn't beat. I mean, let's face it. She's beaten Megan Anderson. She's beaten Cyborg. I mean, she's beaten all these names, and those are big friggin' names. So we'll see. And I'm looking forward to both of these girls and what they continue to carry in their careers. And, of course, we had the main event. Dustin Diamond Poirier taking on Charles Oliveira. I mean, a lot of people were very much expecting the Diamond to come out and maybe perform a little bit higher than he has. He's been to the title fight before where he fought Khabib Nurmagomedov, who's, obviously one of the GOATs of all time. Got choked out in that fight. And then what happened in this? The Diamond came out sharp, had a lot of precision boxing. He had a lot of great punches land very early in the fight. The first round, he was smiling, laughing. And then the second round, it wasn't so fun after he got dominated on top position. The Bronx was on him the entire friggin' time. And I mean, throwing bombs, ground control for about 4.5 minutes. I've never seen anything so dominating. And then the third round, you can just see Diamond's body language look like he was just absolutely done with the fight. He got in there, and the Bronx took his back pretty much immediately. And the second that he did, he had his arms wrapped around and took the back, and that was it. I was very surprised to see Diamond give up the back so quickly. I thought maybe for a split second he would, grab onto the Bronx and kind of push back as we've seen fighters do before. But that wasn't the case. And I thought that was a little weird why he didn't go down that route. I mean, significantly, it cost him the fight. And again, Dustin Poirier now on the verge of, what do I do next? He's beaten McGregor. There's no fight or no sense in fighting him again. The way I look at it, Nate Diaz just re-upped with the UFC. I think if you want a money fight, a fun fight, Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz, I think sells a lot of cards, sells a lot of pay-per-view buys. And let's face it, That's what Uncle Dana's about. He's about making fucking money, and he's not going to play around if he gets the opportunity to do so. So with that being said, I mean, maybe the fun fight to make is Dustin Diamond Poirier versus Nate Diaz. And if it happens, you heard it here first. Just remember that. And also for Charles Oliveira, I mean, this incredible run continues. Before this incredible run of 10-0 that he's been on, he was 10-8 in the UFC. He flip-flopped between featherweight and he just didn't. It didn't look like Charles Oliveira had an identity. And then all of a sudden, man, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the dyeing of his hair blonde or some shit. I couldn't tell you. But he has just gotten so good in that octagon. He looks so composed. I mean, we've seen him get rattled a couple times. Seems like in the first round of pretty much every fight he's ever been in, he gets tagged and tagged hard. And you're like, oh boy, this is it. I mean, we saw it against Michael Chandler in his last fight. Chandler got him with a couple great straights and looked like he had Oliveira knocked out, saved by the bell. Same thing in this fight against Poirier. Poirier came out fist flying, was tagging him, hitting him with some big body shots, some big head shots, do some big power shots. And I thought, all right, this is it. This is Diamond's chance. Gassed. And I just don't know if that's what people are trying to do with Oliveira because they need to finish him because his jiu-jitsu is just out of this world great. So I don't know who faces. Well, we all know that Justin Gaethje is obviously going to get the title fight because he did win. So it looks like UFC will set up in 2022. They'll have Justin Gaethje going against Charles Oliveira. That will be for the lightweight strap. I don't know who wins that fight. Justin Gaethje's fucking crazy. His ground game is insane too. He's a great wrestler, but people don't understand that because they've never really seen it from him. He's an NCAA wrestler, man. He's good. But I would also tell you that Charles Oliveira's jiu-jitsu is absolutely ranked. So we'll see what happens in that fight. But yeah, that's just a quick little recap of UFC 269. I just wanted to get into it and talk a little bit about it because I've got a special guest, like I said earlier in the show, that's going to be on with us. And with that special segment, I mean, we are sponsored by PAWFC, which is Pallas Athenas Women's Championship. And so why not bring on the CEO of the group, who is over there on the other side of where I originally connected, Clayton Belitski. Clayton, how are you, man?
Good, Andrew. How are you, my friend?
I am doing so good because I'm getting so amped up and so excited for the event. And if any of you guys haven't heard yet, January 15th is obviously the day. But I mean, there's a lot of people that have been reaching out to me and they're like, what's the idea behind PAWFC?
Well, long story short, basically 15 years ago, I used to fight. I had a young family at that time, and I couldn't make a go of it. I had to pay for rent, I had to pay for my bills, I had to pay for my training, I had a family to feed, and I just want to create a platform, help next generations of fighters.
So with that being said, I mean, realistically, I mean, I was just talking about it. It seems to be a male-dominated sport. What made you think going all women's MMA, especially in Canada?
Well, I'm just gonna say, like, I had trouble 15 years ago of making a go of it, and I'm a male, so I mean, for females, it's probably twice as hard. So I'm just trying to help them out.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense to me. I mean, like I was saying to Shar and Alan, who've joined us, obviously parts of PAWFC as well. Um, it's the women's MMA has come to the forefront. I mean, I alluded to it earlier in the show talking about Juliana Pena and her amazing, performance this past weekend, and Amanda Nunes, the GOAT. I mentioned names like Cyborg, and we won't say much about that yet because we're going to get into that later on, and of course other people, but women's MMA has really, really come to the forefront, and I would tell you some nights it's better than male fighting.
Yeah, I believe so. I think it's a golden opportunity, and I think these women are very exciting, and I think there's big possibilities for them in the future.
Big time. So January 15th, 2022 is a date, Calgary, Alberta, PAWFC 1. How did this all come about, man? Because it's just been amazing what you guys been doing.
Right. I mean, it started off, Andrew, a year ago, almost, well, probably 2 weeks past a year ago, from a sketch on a piece of paper. And
Wow.
in 1 year, this has happened. Give me one more year, and I mean, this will be the biggest title for women's MMA. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you look at the resources that used to be there that aren't there anymore for women's MMA. And I mean, especially because we're bringing in so many talents, and you guys are focused on, of course, women's MMA, but you're bringing in talents from Brazil. We've got people from the UK. We've got Canadian talent. We've got American talent. Like, it's
French.
just insane what you guys are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be like this is not a Canadian thing. This is a worldwide event.
Now, of course, that being said, it is being held in Canada. So people are like, well, you're guys promoting it as it's just North American. But believe me, some of the fighters and some of the talents that are coming around are from around the globe, and we are looking forward to it. I mean, we've got people, like I said, coming from Brazil for title fights. Like, it's no joke.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I totally believe you when you say you guys are ready to take over. Now, what does that takeover kind of look for you guys?
I mean, like we're just going with the flow. I mean, like we met so many people in the last 6 months, and I got such a good team going on with Al and Jenica. It's things are just happening. Like every day you wake up and it's just like more and more. Like every day, it's so exciting.
15 different messages per day. You're just like, that's
50
just at
messages
8
an
a.m.
hour, probably.
No, I mean, we brought up the name earlier, and I didn't want to say too much about it because I wanted to give you the opportunity to, make this a selling point for folks. But of course, we've got some legendary names that are going to be in the octagon, including our own headlining fight. We've got our title fight with maybe one of the bigger names in not only just women's or UFC, Bellator, Strikeforce. I mean, one of the biggest names in MMA history for women.
Yeah, Sarah Kaufman, right? I mean, like she was the first. What was it? Strikeforce
Yep.
champion. And she was in Invicta. She was a champion there, and she was known. I watched her for a long time. She was known as a more of a striker back in the day, but she's so well rounded now. Like she's incredible. She's cream of the crop, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of Sarah Kaufman with PFL and Bellator, or Strikeforce, sorry, and of course UFC. Sarah Kaufman's an incredible wrestler. Like she's just hands down one of the best. She gets on the ground, it's going to be a bad night at the office, and I'm looking forward to that main event for sure. But the other one of the major points that Invicta has, or not Invicta, sorry, PAWFC has mentioned is that they want to get some bigger names to be at these events. And we've got two incredibly huge talents that are now going to be joining the program. And Chris Cyborg, and if you missed it, sitting beside me that night will be Felicia Spencer. How did you make that happen?
Well, I don't want to release all the secrets, but like I said, we got a very good team, and we're making so good of connections. I mean, Felicia announced her retirement from MMA, and I know the story. I respect her decision, and I'm happy for her. But there's a lot more opportunities in MMA than just actually fighting, right? And I just want to make a home for these girls. You know what I mean? So they'll
Yeah,
always.
I mean, for sure. I agree with you fully on that statement. I mean, realistically, I think everybody kind of sees a UFC fighter and they're like, "Well, you're only good for one thing," right? Like, I mean, and that's most certainly not the cases. I mean, you look at examples. I mean, this is obviously male, but you look at the most of the guys have transitioned that were legends in the sport. I mean, you look at GSP and what he's doing with RDS and Patrick Cote for the Canadian folks. They're doing the French, conversion for fights, and then you look at just for instance, I mean, Chael Sonnen, he's not with the UFC anymore. He did his thing. He came, gone, went, but he makes a great broadcaster. You're like, you're great.
Absolutely.
So
Better
I'm
believe it.
really looking. Go ahead, sorry.
You're breaking up, Andrew. I comment of yours.
Oh, sorry. No worries. No, I'm really looking forward to seeing what she provides, and just seeing what happens in the foreseeable future with all these platforms now that these girls have, and you guys could be one of the people that are at the forefront for that.
Well, that's the plan. Absolutely.
Oh man, I am so excited. I got goosebumps because I can't wait to drive out there and be part of the entire thing between fight nights, and being part of the ringside commentary team with Ryan Ballantyne, who most people should know if you watched Big Brother Canada.
Right.
And
No, I think one of the goals is just to make it fun for everybody.
yeah,
The fighters, the guests, Everybody, just let's just have a good time.
For sure, making an experience, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. So with that being said, how does one buy tickets and as well as the pay-per-view? Because if you missed it, it's also going to be live on pay-per-view.
Yeah, so it's going to be on hnlive.ca. So we're going to announce that very shortly. We're just crossing our T's and dotting our I's right now. Yeah, for ticket sales. And I'm the kind of person, I don't want to announce anything unless a contract signed, right? That's
Right.
just the person I am. So, but it's going to be up there very shortly.
That makes a ton of sense to me. So, with that being said, guys, like I said, make sure you're paying attention to all of Pallas Athena Women's Fighting Championship socials, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. The Instagram takeover is for real with PAWFC. They've been growing massively in numbers. And I would tell you, like, there's just so many great fighters and so many great names that are going to be coming up to this thing. You don't want to miss the event. Plus, I did hear something about vaccination status. I know everybody's going crazy about the stuff, but how is it going to work with the venue?
You know what? I really don't want to get into that right now.
Fair. I like that because 2021. Am I right?
Right. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I'm just, everybody has their own personal opinion on it, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Absolutely. Well, whether you're there or not, you can check us out live. You can be at the event. You can watch us on pay-per-view, like you said, and tickets are going to be available very, very shortly. We can't wait to be a part of this event. Again, follow all their socials because that's where it's going to break all of the media announcements, the VIP packages to actually get the chance to see Chris Cyborg, which is, I mean, hey, an absolute living legend is going to be there. 2 of them, 3 of them in one night.
There might be more. I'm not gonna release it yet, but one of my idols when I used to fight 15 years ago, he might be there. So just stay tuned.
You heard it here first. Suspense. I don't even know these things. So there you go. Nonetheless, thank you so much, Clayton, for joining us. Of course, if you want to follow them, you can follow them on all of our PDA WFC sites everywhere. Even check out the website. Crazy cool promotional videos done as well for the ramp up of this event. And man, looking forward to finally shaking your hand and meeting you in Calgary. And it's going to be one incredible weekend.
It is. Thank you, Andrew, very much.
You're very welcome. That is another edition of the Boomtown Pod, all things MMA. With that being said, more people, more event announcements. This is insane. I'm looking forward to this event. Again, if you missed the chance to, you can catch us on pay-per-view. Myself, Ryan Ballantyne, Felicia Spencer will be our commentary team that night. It's just so crazy to me that I'm going to be sitting beside a girl who fought Amanda Nunes for the title, like right beside me. It's going to be banana land, which will be tons of fun. And then, of course, follow them on PAWFC. You can catch them on all their socials. Again, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You know how it works. You guys are all social media savvy now. So make sure to go follow them. And, of course, follow us at the Boomtown Pod. We'll have all of the updates provided for you there, including ticket sales when those go on. Of course, the pay-per-view announcements as well. Anything that you guys need, we're going to be there to help you guys out. So really, really looking forward to this event coming up January 15th, 2022. If you want to get tickets and you're going to come travel, let's have some fun. And maybe I'll have a drink with you after. Who knows? But nonetheless, I want to thank our sponsors once again, Sandman Boxing System, Stellar Gear, Connexus Credit Union, the Saskatchewan Podcast Network, and, of course, the Blue Collar Media Group.